All right, nice and quick today. We're just graphing piecewise functions, which we did one time when we first started. Now we're doing it for real. Try to make this as straightforward as we can. So what we want to do, we have two parts of our function. We're going to graph them both separately. So we look at our critical, we're looking for a critical value. We look at the interval we're talking about. So this one, x less than or equal to -1. So I know I care about this point -1. It's a key point. So I'm going to copy down this part of the function. So -2 times x minus 4. And I'm going to substitute x for -1. Okay, then I'm just going to solve. So -2 times -1 is +2. 2 minus 4 is -2. So I have a point at -1, -2. And since it's less than or equal to, it's going to be a closed circle. And that'll help you on the canvas part, where it's going to ask you open circle, closed circle. So we want a closed circle at -1, -2. Okay? And then we're going to graph the rest of the line. And then the only trick here is we don't actually want the whole line. We just want the part of the line where x is less than or equal to -1. So basically, it's everything to the left of that point. So you can either make a table, if that's what you're into. But I would say, I know the slope is -2. So I know it's running downhill. So I'm just going to go from this point I already know. And I'm just going to count up 2 and back 1. Up 2, back 1. And that gives me a slope of -2. It only goes on the left side. Okay, but I can check. I know the y-intercept should be -4. And if we don't actually plot it, but we would see the next point over would be here at -4. So I've graphed this correctly, but I only want that part of the line. Okay? And then we just do the same thing for the bottom equation, or the bottom part of the function. So our key point is still at x is -1, but now I'm going to substitute into the second equation. So -2x plus 3, where x is -1. Okay, we solve again. -2 times -1 is +2. +2 plus 3 is 5. So I have a point at -1, 5. And this is an open circle because it just says greater than -1. Okay. So I'm going to go over -1, +5, open circle there. Okay. Slope is still -2, but this time since it's greater than, I want everything to the right of that point. So this time I can actually go down 2 over 1, down 2 over 1, so on, so on. Connect them all. I can double check my y-intercept is +3. I can see it crosses the y-axis at -3. This is a good graph. Okay. To double check your work, to make sure you did it correctly. This works on almost all of them. If you graphed it correctly, this still needs to be a function. So if we did our vertical line test, let's actually make a vertical line. Let's make it green. Okay. You notice if we take this vertical line, no matter where I put it, even at -1, it only crosses one function at a time. Right? That's why we have one closed circle here that actually includes the point -1. This one up here, it approaches -1, but doesn't actually get to it. Okay? Because it still has to be a function, still has to pass the vertical line test, and this will tell us, did I graph it the right way? Because really the only real mistake you can make is drawing the line going the wrong direction. So it's almost always, especially when there's only two, you're going to have one equation going to the left, one equation going to the right, and they should never overlap. You might have a gap between them. Some of the later problems, like you'll see, is x is less than -4 and x is greater than 3. So you're going to have like a small gap between -4 and -3 where there's no function, and that's okay, but they cannot overlap. Okay, so really, it's not too bad. The only other thing to look at is like this one here. So x less than 0. So when x, when x is less than 0, it's just telling us y equals 6. So that just means, there it is. Okay. So I'm going to have a point at where x is equal to, or approaching 0, and y is just going to be -6. And that's going to be an open circle. So I'm going to go 0, -6. And y is always going to equal -6 as I go to the left. So this is just going to be a horizontal line. So for every x value less than 0, y equals -6, that's what that's going to look like. Okay? If it's just y equals x, let's just do this one. We're already made it this far. So when x is 0, y would also equal 0, because y equals x. If you want to see that, y equals x, that's basically what this part of the function is. Okay? And the top one was y equals -6. Okay? Because I know it's a little bit easier to visualize it when it's a whole mx plus b. But if you just have a single term and then, I don't know, maybe in your head it's like, this doesn't look right, but these are your equations, okay? So I know I'm gonna have a closed circle at 0, 0. And since it's just y equals x, and I'm going to the right, I can just know the slope is +1, so I just go up 1, over 1. There's our graph. Nothing to it. All right, so practice it. Answer the questions on Canvas to get bonus points. Take a picture on your cellular device of all the graphs that you totally graphed. Okay. Bye.